We begin tonight with a developing story out of Boise, everyone. You are looking at a live picture from our tower cams. This one from on top of the Grove Hotel downtown. You see that huge plume of smoke out there. We also have a shot from the village at Meridian. It's a grass fire that we are keeping an eye on in the foothills. This is off of Hill Road and Pierce Park Lane tonight. Details are pretty limited at this time, but you can see right there on the Google map just where we're looking at here. And there are certainly, as anyone knows who's driven along Hill Road, plenty of homes along Hill Road, but then quickly it sort of narrows out into the foothills, and there aren't as many homes up there, but there are a few. And certainly with the conditions that we have right now, this is very concerning. We have, as you can see, the flashing lights there. There are crews on the scene. We have a news crew on their way to this fire right now, and we'll bring you the latest details as they become available. At this point, we have not heard of any structures threatened, but we'll keep an eye on that for you throughout the night. In other top news tonight, a fiery crash sends the driver of this semi-truck, an Idaho man, to a hospital burn unit in Utah. The incident setting off a chain of events that leads to this.
No, we're done. We're done. You're under arrest. We're going. We're done.
This has made national news today. A nurse forcibly arrested while she says she was standing up for the rights of her unconscious patient from that particular crash, who was not accused of doing anything wrong.
Watching Fox 9 Now News at 9. It's about time.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Roland Barris on a Friday night. Our big story, that disturbing video out of Utah where a nurse was forcibly arrested. This after telling an officer that she legally could not comply with his demand to draw an unconscious patient's blood. We now know that patient is William Gray, a reserve officer for the Rigby Police Department in Idaho. Fox's Paul Murphy reports.
We're under arrest. We're going.
Nurse Alex Wubble was handcuffed and forced into a police car after she refused to let the officer draw blood from an unconscious patient involved in a fatal car accident on July 26.
When he started to come at me and attack me, I was already scared.
The nurse said the officer could not draw blood without the patient's consent, an order from a judge, or if the victim was a suspect.
I was just trying to do it the right way. If they needed blood, then they needed to go through the proper channels to take it.
The officer continued to threaten to arrest her and then made good on his threat. Wubble's attorney calls what happened an assault.
There was both an unlawful assault and an unlawful arrest.
It just makes me so, I just feel betrayed. I feel angry.
Wubble hopes the video will lead to law enforcement officers getting more training on how to properly work with medical providers.
We're very alarmed. Immediately we took actions.
The Salt Lake City police say the training is already taking place.
We've looked at our policies and we want to make sure we take steps to make sure something like this doesn't happen again.
University of Utah Health stated it supports Nurse Wubble and her efforts to protect the patient's best interest. And the hospital plans to work with law enforcement to make sure the right steps take place moving forward.
If this can happen to me, it can happen to anyone.
Now, police in Rigby are thanking that Utah nurse in a statement on the department's Facebook page. It reads in part, the Rigby Police Department would like to thank the nurse involved and hospital staff for standing firm and protecting Officer Gray's rights as a patient and victim. Protecting the rights of others is truly a heroic act. A fund has been set up on Reserve Officer Gray's behalf, by the way, to help his wife and family while he is injured from that crash. If you'd like to contribute, just search for Bill Gray Accident Fund on GoFundMe.com. In Georgia, a police lieutenant has been moved to administrative duty after his incendiary comments to a driver were caught on dash cam video. Lieutenant Greg Abbott had pulled over a white female driver back in 2016 when she told him she was scared to take her hands off the wheel after recent police shootings. That's when Abbott assured her she would not be harmed.
But you're not black. Remember, we only kill black people. Yeah, we only kill black people, right? All the videos you've seen, have you seen white people get killed? You have.
In a statement, the officer's attorney says the comments were meant to, quote, de-escalate a situation involving an uncooperative passenger. But Cobb County Police Chief Mike Register says regardless of the intent, the comments were unacceptable.
No matter what context you try to take those comments in, the statements were inexcusable and inappropriate.
Chief Register is recommending Abbott be terminated. Until then, the 28-year veteran is on administrative leave pending an investigation.
All right, let's take a look at this forecast here. We're going to talk about that fire as well. First of all, let's show how hot it has been. We've been above average, 93 degrees for the high temperature in Boise, normally at 85. So we're 8 degrees above average still, and it's going to be getting hotter, and it's going to be getting drier as well. And the real heat is to the west, where temperatures are still hot. That hot weather is going to start spreading on in, so another 4 or 5 degrees hotter during the day tomorrow. Let's take a closer inspection of where that fire is located. It's likely in the foothills here. As we get more information, we'll let you know. But again, the cross streets we were here were Hill Road and Pierce Park, which is right here. So we'll have to get it. It could be in here or here. We'll find that location for you. In the meantime, I do want to show you that there's a fire weather watch in effect for Sunday. It's going to get hotter and drier. No thunderstorms. It's just going to be so dry that the slightest little spark of a fire could spread out of control very quickly in this region. That's the situation right now. I'm going to keep you updated on that. So just keep that in mind. It's midsummer conditions, 64 degrees overnight and hazy. Maybe a cool start to the day tomorrow and some smoke around, especially with this new fire here. 97, even hotter tomorrow afternoon. The rest of my long Labor Day weekend forecast coming up.
All right, Scott, thanks very much. Well, plenty of fires in the news tonight. An apartment complex on the Boise Bench caught fire, leaving dozens of residents temporarily homeless. Fox 9 Now's Stephanie Hale-Lopez has the details.
My heart just started pounding.
Billows of black smoke covered the Boise Bench this morning, visible for miles as a fire ignited behind the Parkwood apartment complex.
I look up and there's just smoke everywhere, so I didn't know what was going on. So I went over there on that side and there was ash falling on me.
Boise fire crews say 3 fourplexes were involved in the fire. One is completely burned, while the second has significant smoke damage, making 6 apartments inhabitable. The third complex had minimal damage.
I just saw the smoke and I was like, wow, I could have lost everything. Memories, have nothing left, and I was scared.
All of the residents were safely evacuated. One firefighter is being treated for a shoulder injury.
We do have our Boise Fire Department Burnout Fund. We have the Red Cross, and we have the Trauma Intervention Program coming to help the displaced residents, and we'll figure out what they'll help figure out for them where they go from here.
There's a couple of teenagers who live upstairs that I'm friends with, and they don't have anything left, and I'm offering them stay at my place.
For now, the cause of the fire is still under investigation. Stephanie Hale-Lopez, Fox 9 Now.
2 Treasure Valley communities now reporting human cases of the West Nile virus. A woman in Payette County and a young man in Owyhee County are infected. No word on their conditions or if they exhibited symptoms. A shootout on the Boise Bench between a wanted gunman and Boise police has been deemed legal, justified, and necessary. 33-year-old Marco Romero was shot and killed by police after he shot 2 Boise police officers and a police canine in November. Corporal Chris Davis was shot and injured and was able to return to work. Corporal Kevin Holtree suffered life-changing injuries and is still recovering. K-9 Jardo died 5 days after the shooting. The Twin Falls County prosecuting attorney acted as an independent investigator in the case after the shootout. 25 years ago this week, an otherwise obscure hilltop in northern Idaho known as Ruby Ridge was thrust into the national spotlight. Randy Weaver moved his family to North Idaho in the 1980s. In 1990, the federal government brought an illegal weapons charge against him, but Weaver refused to show up in court. The incident eventually turning into a contentious and violent standoff. Boise attorney Chuck Peterson, who sat on Weaver's defense team, says he sees similarities between Ruby Ridge and what happened outside Burns last year.
So similar to what happened in Oregon a year or so ago. You're in a similar situation where suddenly you've got a bunch of folks holding out against the government. And you look at what's happened in those cases, it's just like Ruby Ridge in many ways. juries have looked at the facts afterwards and deemed the federal government to be at least partially responsible for what happened.
Now, coming up this Sunday night, we're going to take a closer look at the siege at Ruby Ridge, what went wrong and what we have learned from it since. That's Sunday night at 9 p.m. right here on Fox 9 Now. Today, family and loved ones of former Governor Cecil Andrus said their goodbyes at a private service at Boise's Pioneer Cemetery. Former Governor Andrus was honored with a 21-gun salute, the playing of taps, and a flyover by the Idaho National Guard. A flag folding ceremony was conducted by General Darrell Manning of the Idaho National Guard. 3 bullet casings were placed with the flag before it was presented to Carol Andrus. The governor passed away last Thursday. Superintendent of Public Instruction Sherry Ybarra released her school budget proposal today. The state schools chief is seeking a 6.8% increase in education spending for the 2018-19 school year. That percentage increase translates to about $114 million. Key features of the proposal include more teacher salary funding, college credit classes for students, and supporting classroom technology.
One of our priorities was the career ladder, which the majority of the budget is going to go towards. Stakeholders unanimously supported that piece of the budget, which goes with one of our priorities and goals here at the department, which is attracting and retaining quality educators and keeping those veterans in the classroom.
Of that nearly 7% spending increase, roughly $35 million of it is required by law to address growth, and $56 million is tied to initiatives from the governor's task force. Lawmakers will vote on the proposal in January. Well, the next time your child is playing video games instead of studying, you might want to think twice about complaining. Turns out some universities now, more and more of them in fact, are giving out scholarships for playing games. At Boise State, they're starting an esports program, and while they're not offering scholarships yet, they do offer the opportunity to win prize money that can then help with school costs. And the day may actually come when scholarships are offered because the university seems dedicated to esports.
People love it. It's the most popular thing of this generation, and it's sweeping everywhere. It makes sense that it should come here first.
We are all in with the esports and everything that comes along with it.
Interesting. Boise State is planning to build a state-of-the-art esports arena. It's already recruiting players for its teams, and competition apparently begins in October. Tomorrow night, see what is really driving universities across the country to start esports programs and see just how much money is out there already for scholarships at some universities. Well, the Broncos have their season opener tomorrow, taking on the Troy Trojans at home at Albertson Stadium. And as always, game day parking is expected to be a little crazy. There are always ways, though, to avoid all those parking headaches. The free downtown shuttle is available again this year. Game day shuttles start up 2 hours before kickoff this week and have pickup locations at different spots around downtown. The buses run every 15 minutes and resume immediately following the game. You can also save some hassle by parking in a garage. It'll cost you just $5 with a game ticket. Or instead of the shuttle, why not just bike it? The Boise Green Bike program is offering free bike parking near the Christ Chapel next to the stadium. Folks can park downtown, grab a green bike, and pedal off to the game.
If you've been to any of the Bronco home games, the parking lot is just crazy, and all of the neighborhood parking is crazy, especially as there's new construction down there. So if you hop on one of the green bikes, you take a very nice ride along the green belt and over the bridge to the stadium. You lock up and you can thumb your noses at all those people sitting in traffic.
Right, and with it being an afternoon game, you don't have to ride a bike at night. It's perfect. That's the way to go. This year, you can get a $10 credit. Use the code BroncoNation2017 when you sign up. The Green Bike Corral, which is open to all bicycles, opens at least an hour before the game begins. If you're heading to the game, you need to know what to wear. Of course, this game has a tricolor theme. Every other seating section is either blue, orange, or white. And remember to stay hydrated and cool. Again, kickoff is an early 1:45. This weekend, it's going to be a scorcher. If adult beverages are part of your game day plans, police are asking that you drink safely and responsibly. The 10 to 10 zone around Albertson Stadium allows fans to drink alcohol if they follow the rules. From 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on home game days, you can drink, but only out of dark-colored plastic cups.
We want to create an environment for them to enjoy themselves while attending the Boise State games.
And police will be out patrolling the area. Boise Co-op jumps on board a national effort to end hunger. You can donate at the co-op stores in both Boise and Meridian, then write a special message on a paper plate about how hunger and good nutrition affects you. The stories are often powerful and moving.
And we just learned today that every dollar, prior to today, every dollar was providing 4 meals for hungry Idahoans. And the Idaho Food Bank just announced that they are now able to provide 5 meals with every dollar. So with our matching donations, that's 10 meals for every dollar donated.
Well, that's pretty impressive. The Idaho Food Bank does such great work. This is the second year that the stores have teamed up with the Idaho Food Bank for the project. The co-op will match donations, by the way, up to $2,500. The food bank plans to announce more hunger relief efforts through the month. Fox 9 Now has much more news coming up in our second half hour. Dan Hawk gets you set for tomorrow's game with some tailgate tips from Boise State tennis head coach Greg Patton. Watch out. And next on Fox 9 Now.
President Trump has come to a decision on what to do about the so-called dreamers. When will we learn about it? I'm John Roberts at the White House. We'll have that story coming up.
Right now in America, everyone, some immigrants who were stuck at airports when President Trump signed his first travel ban will get another chance to legally enter the country. This after a court weighs in on the case of an Iraqi immigrant who worked with the U.S. military. Hamid Khalid Darwish was detained in New York. Under his settlement with the administration, the government must notify those wrongly blocked from entering the United States in January and help them reapply for U.S. visas.
America is the greatest nation, the greatest people in the world.
The next and ultimate legal destination for the president's travel ban is the U.S. Supreme Court, where oral arguments are scheduled to begin next month. Justices will consider how much power a president has over immigration and national security concerns and whether religion may have played any role in the order. President Trump says a decision about the fate of certain young illegal immigrants known as DACA recipients is coming soon. This as the president gets set to meet with more victims of Hurricane Harvey. Fox's John Roberts has all those details.
A decision on DACA?
Sometime today or over the weekend we'll have a decision, maybe this afternoon. We'll be releasing on DACA sometime over the weekend, probably Sunday, Saturday. Latest will be Monday.
The timing appeared fluid, but as reported by Fox News yesterday, President Trump today confirmed an announcement on what to do about the so-called dreamers covered by the DACA plan is coming. By the time the daily briefing rolled around, they appeared to have it nailed down.
We're actually going to make that announcement on Tuesday of next week, and the president's priorities on immigration are to create a system that encourages legal immigration and benefits our economy and American workers.
Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said the decision is weighing heavily on President Trump.
He loves people, and he wants to make sure that this decision is done correctly.
Already, the prospect of the president ending DACA as we know it has provoked strong reaction, particularly in Congress. House Speaker Paul Ryan saying today it's the wrong thing to do.
I actually don't think he should do that, and I believe that this is something that Congress has to fix.
Other lawmakers agree it's Congress that needs to extend protections to dreamers. Republican Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona tweeting today, quote, "Congress needs to take immediate action to protect DACA kids." North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis is leading a Republican push for a conservative DREAM Act. A spokesman telling Fox News Tillis is pursuing, quote, conservative legislation that will address the long-term uncertainty facing undocumented minors by creating a fair but rigorous process for legal status that requires individuals 18 or older to be either employed, pursue post-secondary education, or serve in the armed forces. While the president will spend part of the weekend finalizing his plans for DACA, he will also travel to Houston and Lake Charles, Louisiana, to witness the destruction there and meet with people whose lives have been turned upside down.
We're one American family brought together in times of tragedy by the unbreakable bonds of love and loyalty that we have for one another.
In the Oval Office today, President Trump signed a proclamation declaring Sunday as a national day of prayer for victims of the storm.
We invite all Americans to join us as we continue to pray for those who have lost family members and friends, and for those who are suffering from this great crisis.
The White House and Congress are finalizing an initial infusion of money, disaster relief for Hurricane Harvey. The White House wants $5.5 billion for FEMA and an additional $450 million for the Small Business Administration Disaster Relief Fund. But White House officials tonight caution that money is just a down payment on what will ultimately be needed. At the White House, John Roberts, Fox 9 Now.
Dell founder and CEO Michael Dell has now pledged $36 million to help with Hurricane Harvey relief efforts. It's amazing. The Michael and Susan Dell Foundation is the largest single contribution so far. The foundation also giving $17 million to launch the Rebuild Texas Fund with a goal of raising more than $100 million for immediate relief efforts. The tech billionaire and his wife are both Texas natives. They said in a statement that the Houston street Michael grew up on is underwater. A major blow for prosecutors after a Pennsylvania judge throws out the most serious charges against a group of 18 Penn State frat brothers. The defendants stand accused in the death of 19-year-old Timothy Piazza. As Fox 9 Now has reported, prosecutors say Piazza died back in February after falling down a flight of stairs during a night of heavy drinking at Beta Theta Pi. Officials say Piazza was unconscious, but no one called 911 until the next morning. The judge has dismissed charges including involuntary manslaughter and felony counts of aggravated assault and simple assault. 14 of the frat brothers will stand trial, though, on lesser charges. 4 of them were dismissed, meaning they will not face trial. All right, still ahead on Fox 9 Now, gas prices ticking up ahead of the holiday weekend.
And right now we have a fire burning in the Boise foothills above Hill Road and Pierce Park. Some huge flames showing up. This image coming from the village at Meridian, so this is far away. Crews are on the scene battling the fire. We've got a crew on the scene as well. We'll keep you updated on this and my complete forecast for the long Labor Day weekend coming up.
This is your Fox 9 Now forecast.
All right, folks, crews are on the scene of a fire in the foothills above Hill Road and Pierce Park in Boise. Here's a view from downtown Boise from top of the Grove Hotel as part of our 4 dealers tower cam network. Now, you don't see the flames here. You see the red sky, though, the smoke being illuminated from the flames here. This is a shot looking northwest from Boise. Now we've got a camera out in Meridian, and we'll take a look in. This is now looking in from the southwest, and here we see the flames in the front line of the fire. I've seen flames really building in here. Now, keep in mind, this is from Meridian, and you can see the flames right here. Look at the height of these flames here. So crews, I'm sure, are having a difficult time battling this fire. One thing we did notice before the sun went down is the plume going almost straight up before it fanned on out over just a little bit of an inversion trying to form. The bottom line is it's not extremely windy, although fires, of course, cause their own wind. This is likely a human-caused fire. There was no lightning in the area. We've got a crew on the scene, and we're going to keep you updated and give you information as we progress through our newscast here to keep you updated on the very latest with this fire burning now in the Boise foothills, again above Hill Road and Pierce Park. Right now the temperature is 81. Notice here the wind again for Boise, almost negligible, so that's good news for firefighters. But again, the flames rather large, and they've been kind of building on up as we've gone through the last 20 minutes or so. Look at these high temperatures now. This is important for the fire danger. 93 in Boise, 104 in Medford, and that heat is building in our direction. Many times when we're heating up, we look towards Medford to see what weather they have, then our weather could be duplicating that. I don't think we'll hit 104, but we could be close to that on Sunday in some locations. Because of that, a higher fire danger moving on in. This is a smoke model showing the dispersion of smoke over the weekend. Here's the Boise-Nampa area as well. This is just kind of looping through, and you can see how smoke will go in different directions at different times of the day. Big fire burning near Deadwood Reservoir, and that one's producing a lot of smoke, and that tends to filter down into the valleys in the morning hours. And with that smoke nearby in the foothills, it's probably a good bet we're going to see some smoke into the Treasure Valley tomorrow morning. And if you are traveling anywhere up into the mountains, it is likely you'll see some smoke. In fact, around Lucky Peak, where there was a huge thunderstorm a couple days ago here, the forecast forecast looks pretty good out on the lake, although we may have some smoke nearby. Temperature-wise, if you're heading out for the holiday weekend, at least for tomorrow, we're talking in the low 90s. It'll get even hotter here on Saturday and Sunday. A little smoke in the McCall area as well, but not too bad. Some pretty deep blue sky early on. Got through the 80s during the day today, and then you see just a little bit of haze. So the visibility has been good in the McCall area, a little less clear in the Sun Valley Stanley area, and that's probably going to be the case this weekend. Here's my forecast: 92 in McCall on Saturday. How about 94 on Sunday, and staying in the low to mid 90s on Labor Day. So this is a very hot summer that we've had, and it's going to last right into the Labor Day weekend. Fire weather watch for Sunday for extremely dry conditions. Any human-caused fires could just be explosively developing on Sunday. It's something we're going to have to keep a close eye on. And as we zoom on in, just outside of that, Hill Road here and Pierce Park, likely in this region here, somewhere in the foothills, we've got that fire going. Let's take a quick check at our forecast here now. With clear skies around the region, I do want to say that for tomorrow, it is going to be on the hot side. 97 degrees for that high temperature, 101 on Sunday, and then near 100 degrees on Monday, Labor Day itself. So everybody's going to be hot. In the mountains specifically, you'll be in the upper 80s to low to mid 90s, depending on where you're at. Got to get to 5,000 feet. And even there, temperatures are going to be close to 90. Look at next week, it stays in the 90s, Roland. So we're talking about hot weather, and this fire we're seeing tonight is spreading. This is the heart of the fire season, and even though there's no lightning, we've got a situation where the fire danger is just real high.
Well, I'm trying to remember that particular area, but obviously along Hill Road on the north side of it, it goes up pretty fast and steep, and so it can climb with that, but then it levels off at a certain point.
It does level off, but when the fire's raging like that, you're drawing in a lot of air to replace it, and it can cause the fire to grow.
All right, let's hope the winds stay calm at least. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Well, if you have noticed gas prices increasing over the past few days, you're right. The Idaho AAA says demand has pushed the prices higher, with people traveling during the summer months, traveling to view the eclipse, and even hitting the road for the Labor Day weekend.
Right now we're 29 cents above where we were last year. So even though it is higher, it's still significantly less than we were paying in years past. 2011 through 14, we were in the high threes. This won't be anything like that.
Now, if Gulf Coast refineries stay offline as a result of Hurricane Harvey, the national average could climb to about $2.50 a gallon, but the AAA feels those higher prices may not last long. Let's hope. Still to come on Fox 9 Now.
The Kremlin promising a tough response in the latest diplomatic tit-for-tat with Washington. I'm Kevin Cork of the White House. I've got details coming up.
Right now in the world, the worst diplomatic spat with Russia in decades is further escalated today. Fox's Kevin Cork explains.
Russian leaders are condemning the U.S. for forcing the closure of the Russian consulate in San Francisco, a move announced by the Trump administration on Thursday, a response to the Kremlin cutting the number of U.S. diplomats in Russia earlier this month.
We will have a tough response to the things that come totally out of the blue to hurt us and are driven solely by the desire to spoil our relations.
In addition to the San Francisco consulate, smaller Russian offices were also closed in New York and Washington. Russian Americans voicing their displeasure as the diplomatic fight escalates.
We are not happy because we are living in the Bay Area and here was really comfortable to get passport.
The Trump administration is arguing Russia should not retaliate for the latest move. They say they are only trying to bring, quote, parity to the number of diplomats in each country. And Russia still has more diplomatic facilities in the U.S. than America does in Russia.
The decision to bring total parity was taken to stop the increasing spiral of escalations in our relationship.
But the administration is also offering an olive branch, agreeing Friday to resume granting visas to Russians who want to visit the U.S. after cutting off that service earlier this month.
This is not full speed ahead, but this is a beginning of the renewal of this process.
The Trump administration says that Russian consulate in San Francisco has to close by tomorrow. The Russian government says it's still studying that decision. At the White House, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
As expected, North Korea has condemned Thursday's joint show of force by the U.S. and South Korea, calling it a, quote, rash act. As Fox 9 Now reported, U.S. and South Korean warplanes carried out simulated precision attacks against the North on Thursday. The act was staged by the Allies to, quote, strongly counter North Korea's missile tests. Meanwhile, the Japanese government is carrying out drills of its own. Citizens in the path of that last North Korean missile participating in mock evacuations. Residents filing into community centers to hide after the signal from mock missile launch sirens. Coming up on Fox 9 Now, an Arizona woman is spreading the word about an excruciating medical condition that she says leaves her feeling like she's on fire.
The Fox 9 Now Allergy Report brought to you by Boise Valley Asthma and Allergy Clinic.
And in the allergy report, it did bump up well above 80 yesterday. It has dropped a bit, but we're still in the high category at a 71. The ragweed has really kicked in at 30, so that's the highest amount there. So if you're starting to feel some issues with pollen, you may be allergic to ragweed as that increases, and there's some sage in there as well.
In tonight's health report, everyone, a woman suffering from an excruciating disease is telling her story to raise awareness and help others from suffering the same illness. Complex regional pain syndrome causes chronic pain, and one doctor says it can leave patients feeling like they are being burned alive. Lindsay Reeser reports.
It feels like somebody has dipped you in gasoline, lit you on fire, and then put you in a trash compactor.
2 years ago, 29-year-old Kayla Hansen was a restaurant manager. One day, a door slammed on her hand, and that seemingly small event would turn her into a full-time patient.
The swelling didn't go down. It was red, it was bruised.
Her condition is called complex regional pain syndrome, and experts call it a perfect storm, combining a triggering injury with a genetic predisposition for chronic pain.
They go all the way up my arms on both sides, and I also have them on my scalp.
CRPS is believed to be caused by a disruption to the central nervous system. Infusions of the powerful sedative ketamine can provide some relief.
It's known as a suicide disease. They take their own life because they feel so alone and they're in so much pain.
Kayla recently traveled to Arkansas to talk to a doctor who's an expert in this and recently wrote a book named Putting Out the Fire.
It is much more possible to go into remission within 1 year of developing this condition.
Dr. Katinka Vandermeer says this underdiagnosed condition affects millions and causes the highest level of pain a human can handle. She says spreading awareness can lead to earlier treatment.
You could have a child who has a fracture, and if you didn't know about this condition, you're going to waste so much valuable time going from doctor to doctor.
If I have to go to different states, different countries, I'm going to keep going.
In Peoria,
I want my life back.
Ooh, that is rough. All right, folks, we are following a fire in the Foothills that broke out just a little while ago, just before our show started tonight, and it's off of Hill Road and Pierce Park. And we've got some pretty impressive video that Scott's going to show us coming up next. We also have a crew on their way to the scene, and we'll get the very latest on this fire in the Foothills of Boise coming up next. All right, welcome back to Fox 9 Now, everyone. We are keeping an eye right now on this fire in the Foothills. It is off of Hill Road and Pierce Park, that general area there, and moving, looks like north of Hill Road.
Yeah, in Pierce Gulch is what the Idaho Statesman's reporting in that region right there. So we're trying to get information. I want to show you a time-lapse view. This is pretty impressive. Watch real close right here, and you're going to see the progression of the fire over about 20 minutes or so. And you see right in here, here comes the fire flare right there, rolling a major flare up. And then also on the eastern edge, watch this thing progress here as it starts sliding back in towards the right. So that's a time lapse of only about 20-25 minutes or so. Now this is the freeze of the time lapse. I'm going to push the button here. We're going to look at the latest picture so you're going to watch how it changes, and here's the progression, and so you can still see even a little more movement as the fire's kind of advancing in this direction and also a little further out going in the opposite way. So the fire's burning out in that ring. It's pretty typical.
And considering the fact that we don't really have a lot of wind tonight, that's pretty impressive. That says it's got a lot of fuel.
It's got some fuel up there, definitely. We don't know if structures are threatened. We know that BLM is out helping as well, so crews there as well. We saw lots of lights heading up in that direction. There's the wildfire, the map right there. So you see the Foothills north. That's Hill Road kind of snaking down below, and right in the center of your screen in the bottom middle heading up, that's Pierce Park Lane. So Pierce Gulch would be that little dip in the foothills there, just under the Friday there on that map, and so it may be right in that Gulch region there.
Well, and as we've seen with other foothills fires, the reaction is very quick. They have a lot of resources to get out there. The BLM is going to get involved with this, obviously, as well. And we saw the lights, the flashing lights moving out there, but you talk about how quickly you can knock down fires from the air, and at night, that becomes very challenging, if not impossible. I'm not sure what the regulations are with the BLM in terms of actually sending anything up in the air right now. So it looks like it's pretty much a hand fight.
Yeah, certainly we could see it. And as I showed at the beginning of this time lapse here, a lot of lights flashing. We saw a lot of crews that were working their way on in, and that was kind of the big story. You couldn't tell what was flames and what was all those red lights moving in. You can see a lot of movement at the beginning there as crews were getting into position to fight this fire. But the good news is when you don't have gusty wind coming in with these gust fronts from thunderstorms, the crews can set up, and as they set up, they don't have to move dramatically. They can watch the fire. It's not necessarily the wind that's going to cause a problem with them.
All right, and we don't see any chance of winds picking up tonight then?
I do not expect that. No.
Okay, that's very good news for all those folks with homes nearby. Here's a live picture that we are getting right now that really shows, and there's Michael Severin. Let's see if we can check in with him right now. I don't know if he's available and if he can actually hear us. That's one of the things. Michael, can you hear us right now? It's Roland. We'd like to ask you a couple of questions. I know you just got on the scene. Michael, you can hear us okay? Tell us what you're seeing right now, Michael.
Yes, I can. Well, I can hear you just fine here. And right now you can just see this fire. This is on Pierce Park Lane all the way up here. And you can see those flames just really reaching over that hillside right here. We see a lot of fire units here right now. And you can see some of those units up on that hillside, checking in on that building right there. At this time, we have not confirmed if there's any evacuations in place. And at this time, we are still trying to learn more information about this fire. Dispatch tells us it went on at around 8:30 this evening. And crews are still actively fighting. And as you can see here, there is that building right there. But this time, we have not heard if there's any evacuations. We did have to pass through a roadblock just past Hill Road on Pierce Park Lane. But at this time, that has not been an evacuation or anything like that, just a roadblock so these fire personnel can get through here.
It's really
that's
hard
really all
to
the information
tell.
I have right now.
Hey, Michael, I'm sorry. It's really hard to tell, exactly what we're looking at there, except we can see it is a structure. There's no doubt about it. There's a structure that is right there on the hillside that is lit up, and it sure looks close to the fire, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's tough to tell maybe from the perspective how close that is, but it looks a little too close for comfort here, although I haven't seen any crews on that side. You can see the crews on the left-hand side of the picture right there on the other side, and I think they're fighting from behind, but it's tough to tell whether this structure, which is in the lower center part of the screen, if we zoom on in, it's on the left side of that fire right there. A lot of lights on in there, and it's tough to tell. We'll zoom in right there. This is the structure that we're talking about right here, and it's hard to tell how close that fire is because we're zoomed in. It might even be over a little bit of a ridge because you can see the tree line in front, but I guess if I were in that home, I wouldn't want to be hanging around.
All right, we're going to cut away from this for right now. We will come back to that a little later in the show. I want to check in real quickly with Dan Hawk in sports.
Well, big game coming up tomorrow. And Roland, I know you're a fan of tailgating, and we're going to get some tips from Coach Patton. Plus, we're going to have high school football, Vandal football, and Boise State. Stay with us.
The Fish and Game Forecast is brought to you locally by Corwin Ford.
It's the day of the 12s on Saturday, September 2nd. The early good period runs from 10 a.m. until 1:30, peaking at 12:20. A strong late good period begins at 10:30 p.m. and continues past its peak at midnight. For more information, go to fox9now.com.
This is Fox 9 Now Sports with Dan Hawk.
It's week 2 of the high school football season, and a pair of teams still undefeated with the #1 team in the state, the Rocky Mountain Grizzlies, hosting the Capital Eagles tonight. This one was slow out of the gate, but here's some early action for you. In the first, Capital goes to the pass to Gavin Murray, dives inside the 2-yard line before he's taken down. However, Rocky would force a 3-and-out as the defense did not let the Eagles soar this time. The big fella pumped up as he should be. However, Eagles would settle for a field goal. Then on the other end, Rocky Mountain working a 2-quarterback offense as Bo-Nose Stevens puts on a move, takes it inside the 15-yard line. Rocky would finally tack on the score on the ground attack by Keegan Arcavia to make it a 3-point ball game. Rocky squeaks by 28-21. Football season officially gets underway tomorrow for the Broncos, but before we head out to the game, we're going to have some tailgate fun with Coach Patton. Here's what he has to get you ready for tomorrow's big game.
And it's a time again for another Coach Patton's tailgate tips. Folks, this is a big day coming up. The first thing that you need to know about tailgating is you got to wear the right clothing. Are you brand new?
I'm brand new.
As God is my witness, I know that's true. But what we need to do is we need to get you some swag. Put this in your hands right here. See, now right now you're starting to look a little bit better. Look at this. Look at this. That looks looking good. We've got to get you into some stuff that's even a little bit better. Now, a lot of people die to wear this. Boise State tennis. Good way to meet girls.
So, Roland, big game tomorrow. Coach Patton gets you the proper swag for a football game. Gotta love him. He's
always very excited.
Every game day, catch you with Coach Patton.
It's good to see Coach Patton again. Thanks, Dan. All right. Hey, listen, we want to show you again what we're watching very closely tonight. This is a fire in the foothills. We'll get some more details from those huge flames. This is off Hill Road near Pierce Park. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. We are keeping a very close eye on this fire in the foothills right now. We're getting some really good pictures from our crew that's out there. And we've seen structures that are close by, but so far we haven't heard of anything threatened. But we know this is off of Hill Road and Pierce Park area, so there are homes in that area. There's no question about that.
Yeah, certainly. And we can see one as we had zoomed on in right in this region here. There's a home here. So tough to tell when you zoom in, what we call compress the video, and it looks like something could be so close. It looks like the flames could be right on the other side, but you see a ridge line, and actually we do see flames coming up now, beginning to show up on the other side of that ridge line. So that is getting real close to this home here right now. Very amazing video is what we'll call it right here, and that is spreading in several different directions here as well. So there are lots of crews working on this fire, Roland.
Right, and you had video before showing how this fire progressed when it really first started. It was a time lapse type of thing, and it moved pretty quickly considering there isn't really any wind out there.
That's right.
Oh my gosh,
There's not a lot of wind, but as we look to the right there, that's the right side of the fire is really where it's been progressing, and that's not just brush. That looks like we've got some, well, it's those short trees and the sagebrush out there as well, but you've got some big flames on the right-hand side of that fire there. There's not a lot of the wind. Crews can get in a particular location, not have to worry necessarily about gusty wind coming in from a thunderstorm. You see how the smoke is just slowly kind of evacuating from that fire, but those flames are big, and we're going to stay on top of this to get all the latest information as it becomes available.
6onyourside.com for all the very latest. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Stay safe out there. We'll see you later on.